suppose we have a new programme been launched, which is Sustainable Food Systems, and we're taking in our first intake of students this September. And I suppose the premises for the programme came from, I suppose, what's happening in the wider agri-food sector and globally in relation to, I think, a number of the challenges that we're facing, targets that we have to meet over the next number of years. And I suppose within the school here, we're very uniquely positioned. You know, we're the only school of agriculture and food science in Ireland. What that means, like Damien mentioned, is that we have the expertise from what's happening within our soils and the soil microbiome through to human consumption, how we actually metabolize those nutrients at the very end of that food chain. So it puts us in a very unique position to look at, well, can we do something even further? Can we maybe look at the food system and how we apply sustainability to that? Because all of our existing programs are excellent and touch on sustainability, but they specifically look at, you know, food science or the nutrition component or the animal component for the crop. But what about the system itself? And how do we look at how sustainable it is from the environmental sustainability perspective, the economic sustainability perspective, but also that social sustainability piece as well. So we kind of felt that piece was missing, and that we were probably well positioned to put an offer together to develop this programme. And we have a lot of support, I suppose, from stakeholders as well, from an industry perspective, that there's a need for this type of programme. And I suppose maybe then just in addition to that, when we look at, I suppose, where the sector is at the moment, we have no doubt a number of challenges that we're trying to reach. But we think of our policy document that we're focused on, it's our Food Vision 2030. Within that, it clearly states that Ireland aims to be an international leader in sustainable food systems. So there needs to be graduates that have the skill set to look at the system and assess its sustainability and have an understanding, maybe not to the degree that maybe graduates in a specific programme would have, but to understand all those pieces of that chain and how they move and interact and relate and how we quantify sustainability across those. And I think, you know, from some of our stakeholders, the support that's there when we think about sustainability, there's roles now developed in companies, sustainability managers, sustainability teams. They didn't exist 5 years ago. Those jobs weren't there, they just didn't exist. Whereas now they are there. The agri-food companies are looking for them, looking to fill those roles. And there's definitely an opportunity there and a gap there to kind of fill those in a bit. So I hope that kind of gives a bit of context as to where it's come from and how hopefully maybe complements what we already have as opposed to be taken from anything else.
Just in terms of some of the subjects, what sort of subjects might students expect to study on that programme at a high level?
Yeah, so the focus really is on producing food, how it's, you know, then post-farm gate, how it's processed, how it's consumed, and what the impact of that process on the environment. So I think when we look at the programme itself, it will look at the entire food chain. So we will have modules that are looking at, you know, soil science. No different with other programs. In first year, you'll start with basic sciences. So you'll still do your chemistry, your maths, your biology. You'll have that core science. It is a Bachelor of Science degree. It'll move then into looking at some of those components that I mentioned. So around kind of the production of food, you know, introducing you to how animal production systems work, how crop production systems work, how our horticulture production systems or alternative plant options work as well, how they are produced. Then we look at, you know, when they go beyond farm gate, within the farm gate piece, you know, how are they produced? Are they economically sustainable? Are they environmentally, and are they, you know, socially acceptable in how they're being produced? And I could talk to you all day about, you know, what's happening there and the different elements and components and parts. But from a module perspective, it'll then start to look at things a little bit more detail, you know, around how do we quantify sustainability of, you know, for example, our barley. And, you know, we look at a life cycle analysis, we looked at some kind of environmental metrics as well to be able to quantify what we're talking about, you know, because if we don't measure something, it's very hard to monitor or see any progress in that as well. Other kind of modules will touch on kind of maybe, you know, waste processing and management, a little bit on kind of the bioeconomy or One Health, all really important components when we're looking at a system of how something is being produced. And there'll also be other kind of opportunities like the other programs around placement and things like that to try and make this very real world, that we're taking what we're learning and applying it or seeing how it's being applied. Because I suppose it is that kind of a broader context in terms of subject content a little bit, but we've structured it around kind of key core concepts around how food's produced, but also looking at the policy that's driving that. or the kind of communications around that, kind of like as Damien just mentioned, and how do we communicate about this? Because it's a word that we're all using, we all talk about in our everyday lives, but how it's communicated, the messaging, and how we actually talk about sustainable food systems. And I think later on we'll get a nice little leaflet and I have a little graphic there that helps to try and tease out the modules and the concepts and things as well that are being offered through that programme.